Hey, this is Haven Harrington coming to you live from Goodwood Brewery here in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. I'm host of the Wake Up 502 Management Sports Show. We're also in partnership with 502 Media now as we talk to the great one himself, Ed from LFA. Ed, how you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. So, LFA, Legacy Fighting Alliance. Tell us, how did LFA come about?
Well, LFA came about. I was the president of RFA, which was the Resurrection Fighting Alliance, and then there was another organization called Legacy Fighting Championship. And at the time, they kind of both went back and forth, claiming, "Oh, we are the best development organization," and then RFA, we would say we were, back and forth, and we both did a great job at developing talent. So in 2015, we had a head-to-head combat to say who's first. We were both on Access TV at the time. We had a head-to-head combat first to see. So at that event, we had three guys from RFA fight three guys from Legacy Fighting Championship. We had one Legacy title fight, one RFA title fight, and then the final fight was the RFA flyweight champion versus the Legacy flyweight champion, which was at the time Alexander Pantoja was the RFA champ at the time, which is now the current UFC flyweight champion, against Damasio Page, who was a guy who was in the UFC, was out of the UFC, but a very, very tough guy. So what ended up happening is that it was a great event. The RFA going into the final fight was up 2-1. And then the final fight was Alexander Pantoja versus Damasio Page, and Pantoja submitted him and won. So we kind of won the tournament and kind of won the match, saying that we had more guys winning. At that point in time, that was awesome. It was really, because it was the first time two events in North America battled against each other for bragging rights. But what we really got out of that is that the guys from Legacy were really cool to work with, and we figured out we could work together. That was in 2015. Then in 2016, we decided to merge our companies together, because then it would be undisputed who the number one developmental organization was. We did that at the end of 2016, and January 13th of 2017 is when we had the first LFA, and then the rest is history.
So it's almost like the AFL-NFL merger, basically, for the developmental league for the UFC.
In a sense, that's what it was. When we started the RFA back in the day, 'cause my background is in management. I represented a lot of the biggest names in the sport. I was Anderson Silva's manager, Lyoto Machida's manager, the Nogueira brothers' manager, a lot of different guys' manager. And so I always knew that it was important to create a developmental organization, because at that time we would see guys fighting in a high school gymnasium in front of 500 people. Then they'd get the phone call to go to the UFC, and next thing you know, they're walking out in an arena with 17,000 people, and they would get a little shocked, to have cameras, lights, and all these people around them. So I wanted to create a developmental organization so guys could get used to having cameras in their face, and just the requirements that it takes outside of just fighting, the media requirements, being there a few days early, learning all the different things that it takes outside the octagon to be a successful fighter.
Awesome. And I think that definitely would be a very key, component to, I think, get guys more ready. So once they get to the big stage, they have a bigger opportunity to be successful, and then also, just being in front of cameras, being able to interview skills, things of that, those types of things that people maybe don't think about.
Yeah, they don't think about it. Everyone thinks about the fight, which, yes, the fighting part is extremely important, but there's also another side of the business, the marketability of the fighter, how they're going to interview, how they're going to gather fans, because it's important for people to have interest in you and why people want to tune in to watch you. Whether they tune in to watch you lose or whether they tune in to watch you win, they need to be interested in tuning in.
I mean, in 2025, Ed, that's self-promotion is a big part of it, right? You have to be able to sell yourself, make the people want to come out and see you.
100%. It's true. And then you have to put on the types of fights that people want to watch. You got to finish fights. That's what you got to do. You got to finish fights. You don't want to leave it in the judge's hands. If you leave it in the judge's hands, you'll probably end up crying.
Definitely, definitely. Now, back to LFA. Now, you guys have started out, now you do fights coast to coast. Even you start fights internationally, fighting in Brazil.
Yes.
And I believe you said earlier about to go to start fighting in Europe.
Yes, we are. We do 25 shows a year, and we've been doing that. So, like I said, LFA was started January of 2017. Here we are in 2025, and this show here in Louisville is going to be our 210th LFA. So we did that in a little over, just about 8 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So not only do your fighters get a chance to, like you said, walk in front of big crowds, but now they get a chance to go internationally.
Yes, they do. We this year we're going to be doing 6 shows in Brazil. We've been doing 5 to 6 shows in Brazil for the past 3 to 4 years, and then this year we're finally going to be expanding to Europe. So we're doing our first show in Spain. We're going to do a show in September, most likely in the Canary Islands of Spain.
Oh, that sounds like a vacation spot. A place I'm going to watch somebody get beat up. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's even better than that, though. You guys are coming back to Kentucky. It's your 3rd time in Kentucky. I think your 2nd time here in Louisville. So what brings you to Louisville?
Well, originally what brought us to Louisville was Eddie Donaldson. Eddie Donaldson's a guy I've known for about 30 years. We knew each other from back in the day. I grew up and lived in Los Angeles. He moved from Louisville when he was about 16 to Los Angeles. We met out there. I was a big nightclub promoter out there, and he worked in that industry also. And then we used to do parties and throw different parties out there, and we used to throw parties for trade shows, for the apparel trade shows. So he was working at the time for a company called Third Rail, which is a big streetwear brand, the graffiti influenced, and I was helping do parties for a company called Kickwear, which is another streetwear brand. And then at the trade shows, we would throw the big parties at the trade shows where all the buyers would want to come watch the shows. And Eddie and I, that's where we met, and then we formed a friendship, and ever since then, we've just always been in contact.
Okay, so he brought you to Louisville. I think your first show was in Owensboro, then the other 2 shows were here. And this sounds like it's going to be like your biggest show here.
Well, for sure, this will be our biggest show here. We're very fortunate to work with us. The community here has been incredible. The community here has been very welcoming, supportive of everything that we've been trying to do, which is very, which is exciting. And that's one of the reasons we came back. I mean, we've had the support of, the Kentucky Expo Center. We had the support of the Louisville Sports Commission. We've had the support of Danny Wimmer Presents. With the Louder Than Life Festival. We had the support of Derby City Pizza. So a lot of the local influences have been really supportive to us. And, with that, on top of having everything else, it's an area logistically in the United States it's a good spot, because within 2 to 3, 4 hours driving, you can hit a lot of metropolitan areas from Indianapolis, Cincinnati. So it's a good area to build talent, because there's so much talent in this region.
Yeah, there is. No, Rashawn and I have been covering MMA in this community since 2008, almost like 16, 17 years. We've been working with the boxing community, with MMA community. We've seen it grow to, it's like Olympian heights.
Right.
Watched it crash back down, and now watching it grow again. So it's great to have you guys come in here, because this is like, just adding more energy, more fuel to the fire to get some of these local gyms, some of the local promoters, and build everything up.
Yeah, I mean, this town deserves it. It has had such a history of combat sports, and being in Freedom Hall to do our event there, what an honor it is to put on a show at the place where Muhammad Ali debuted as a pro in his boxing career. So that to me is just an honor, and like I said, the support of the local community has been incredible, and we're just very excited to come back here again and put on another great show. for the fans. And, being that, the LFA is the number one developmental organization in the world. And at this point, it's not even like an opinion. It's statistically, we are. We've put over 350 people into the UFC. About 35 to 40% of the current UFC roster are LFA alumni. So for us to be able to go out here and put on fights and be able to, and the beauty about coming to the LFA is, you can come to Freedom Hall for all the local fans. You'll be able to go and see the future superstars of the sport. I guarantee you that night, June 13th, you're going to see a handful of people that are going to be fighting on that card that you will see in the UFC within the next 12 months.
Oh, wow. Speaking of that card, you have like 17 fights. That's like a huge card, a lot of local fighters. What's some of the fighters excited to see?
Well, always excited to see Lance Lawrence. Lance Lawrence is a guy who's going to be fighting in the main event. Unfortunately, his opponent that we had booked for the main event just got injured last week. So I would say within the next 24 hours, we should have finalize his next opponent. But Lance Lawrence, the last time we were here, I believe it was LFA 180 back in 2024. The original main event of the night, the guy, the Sunday before the event, went out for a run. It was a kid from Texas and got hit by a car.
Oh, wow.
So when he got hit by a car, we had to pull him off the card, and we ended up deciding to put Lance Lawrence as the main event. Now, at the end of the day, you got to think like, what a story, right? The kid's a local kid, homegrown here, ends up being the main event of one of the biggest shows that have been in Louisville. He ends up being the main event. He goes into the fight being a 4-1 underdog. Fights a guy by the name of Landry Ward, and it was an incredible fight. I mean, this fight went back and forth. It was nominated for Fight of the Year, and he ended up winning, and it was just an incredible fight. So that kid deserves to have the main event here again for the type of performance that he's put on. Since then, he's fought for us again, won another fight, and then when he fought for us in Niagara Falls, he ended up winning I believe it was a performance of the night bonus that night. So
wow.
So the kid always puts on a show, and that's the type of fight as a promoter that, knowing that he's going to be in the main event, you know that the fans are going to walk out of the arena satisfied with the type of fight he puts on.
That's amazing. So 17 fights, big card. So when's the date of the fight?
June 13th.
June 13th.
Yeah, and you get tickets at Ticketmaster.
Okay, June 13th. Tickets at Ticketmaster. Doors open at?
I know that the main card the main card will start at 9 p.m. East Coast time, but I believe the first fight of the night should be somewhere around, I would say 5:30. Doors should probably open around 4:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30. Sorry, I don't have those numbers off the
you're fine,
those numbers at the top of my head right now. But yeah, so we're going to have actually 4 amateur fights and then 13 professional fights. So we'll have 6 to 7 fights on the main card. And then we're going to have the rest of the fights on the preliminary card. So it'll be a great night of fights, and people will definitely get their money's worth for the level of fights they're going to watch.
Oh, heck yeah, that's like a full night of martial arts fighting, man. You can't beat that.
No, it's going to be great. And part of the reason we're doing the amateur fights is because we want to help develop the younger talent here in the Louisville area. I think it's important for them to start, and these young kids that are fighting in the amateur, they're going to get to experience what it's like fighting in a bigger show like the LFA. So they're going to be fighting in the same octagon, doing the same walkout, same everything. The only difference is their rules are slightly adjusted, and their rounds are only 3-minute rounds. But other than that, they get to feel what it's like to fight in a bigger show.
And Ed, for me, if you could just talk about an LFA event, like what can people look forward to when they come out on June 13th? Well,
I could tell you that they're going to come and see a well-produced show. And I could say the only show that it has a better production than what we do is the UFC. And other than that, they're going to get a very similar, a smaller, more intimate version of a UFC. And the great thing about our shows is these guys are really using our platform to make a name for themselves. So they go out there and they really put on a show because they want to make a name for themselves. So you're going to really expect an action-packed night of fights.
Awesome. And, but my biggest, I guess my last question for you would just be, for folks that want to follow everything that LFA is doing. I mean, this is, what number you said? This is
210.
210. So,
yeah.
You guys are active, the circuit. People want to follow what LFA is doing, where you're going to be next. What's the best way for folks to be able to see everything going on?
Our Instagram is, at LFA Fighting. And then we also have a Brazilian version of it, which is at LFA_Brazil. And those are our two, probably our most active social media. We also have something on Facebook. We have a big, huge following. We have almost 750,000 followers on Facebook. And then also we have a ton of fights on our YouTube channel, which is LFA Fight Network.
Man, it's amazing. You guys have grown so much. You had to start a separate Brazilian Instagram account to handle all your fans. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, it is. We actually have such a big following in Brazil that we decided to do a Brazilian. So basically, we do a lot of similar posts, but we just do it in Portuguese because we have such a tremendous amount of Brazilian fans.
Wow, that's amazing.
Soon to have apparently Spanish fans as well.
Hey, it could be, yeah. I'm thankful that the Spanish fans can sometimes understand the Portuguese version, but who knows? Maybe eventually we will have a Spanish version also. Like I said, our plan is to keep growing, keep expanding, and I'm very grateful that what we set out to do, we've done, which is to be the #1 developmental organization in the world, and now it's just a matter of improving that.
Good deal, good deal. Well, once again, that fight is
June 13th at Freedom Hall.
So get your tickets. You can go to Ticketmaster.com, get all your tickets there. We'll have links provided on WakeUp502.com as well, website. And you can listen to Wake Up 502 every Saturday from 9 to 11 on 96.1 FM, Big X Radio. And especially listen to the next couple of weeks because we're going to have some fighters actually on our show to kind of come in and talk about the fight, kind of give you insights from the fighter's perspective on a big LFA event.
That'll be great. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys helping push our show. And it'll be great to hear what the fighters think. I'd love to hear what the fighters think about fighting on our show, the way they're treated, and the way, we try to prepare them for that next level.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Thank you.
This is Rashawn Myers and Haven Harrington, Wake Up 502, Big Ed, LFA, we out.